This is one of the most successful sports cars ever made. Over 500,000 were built in a production period that spanned 3 decades. Everybody from Prince Charles to Sharon Stone has owned one. I'm talking about the quintessentially British MGB, which recently celebrated its 50th anniversary. Now, as you'd expect, there have been all sorts of events to celebrate this occasion. However, one manufacturer's gone one step further and created an all-new B. It's called the Frontline LE50, and it costs a hefty £62,000. Underneath a brand new British Motor Heritage body shell, there's a very contemporary machine. For starters, under the bonnet there's a 2-litre Mazda MX-5 engine, which Frontline have completely rebuilt to produce 215 bhp. That power is delivered to the rear wheels via a Mazda 6-speed gearbox, and the whole lot is supported on completely redesigned suspension. But can it possibly be worth 10 times more than an original MGB from the 60s? We need a comparison. We'll start with the engine. This 1966 example has the traditional 1.8-litre 4-cylinder unit. This old BMC B engine was a tough old unit. In fact, the one in this car has done 192,000 miles without being rebuilt. And this produces about 95 horsepower, which doesn't sound much, but these MGBs only weigh just over a tonne, so it's still able to get to 60 in about 12 seconds. Mind you, it would need a long downhill run to get over 100 miles an hour. The modern-day version is rather fruitier. For starters, by replacing that old cast-iron engine and gearbox with a modern aluminium version, they've saved 130 kilograms on the weight. With all that power, it can now get to 60 in just a touch over 5 seconds and go up to a top speed of 160 miles an hour. Then there's the handling. The B was the first MG to have a monocoque chassis. That means it doesn't have a separate body stuck on top of the chassis. But that means it's got a lot more torsional rigidity. So going through these swooping, undulating corners, it really does sharpen up the handling. Whee! Whoa, 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 whoa! One thing you haven't got, though, is power steering. And this is heavy. But it gives great feel and feedback as I go through these twisty corners. The LE50's handling is dominated by its extra grunt. We've now got 240 bhp per tonne, which means the live rear axle can get very lively. Mind you, it's now got coil-over springs and modern dampers to keep it all under control. And I have to say, this is a beautifully balanced chassis. I've got some power steering, but that's nicely weighted. Great feel. Oh, oh, oh. Inside, there's very little to choose between old and new. The LE50's dashboard uses identical Smiths instruments and black crackle finish paintwork. Although the optional iPod dock and £3,000 air conditioning are very much of today. So, which should you choose? Well, in the end, it all comes down to feel. The 60s car has character. This old B still drives very much like a modern car, apart from the weight of the steering and the fact that when you're going uphill, the poor old engine's a bit out of puff. Come on, girl, come on. Oh, it's a good girl. The revamped model adds sophistication. The funny thing is, though, despite all these modern-day modifications, this MGB still has all the characters of an old car. I think it's because it's still so narrow. It's a small car, it's a light car. It's alive in my hands. It's got all the great characters of an old car combined with the best of new cars. It is the best of both worlds.